and I accidentally wrote lube recap, which we might get a lot more viewers today. So I don't know if people are trying to come in and trying to see what lube recaps are. Oh man, so we'll see. Oh, we got Ruby in the comments. Hey, what's up, Ruby? How are you doing?
What up?
She is excited that Rozzy is back. Rozzy, welcome
What
back to our
up?
show.
Thank you. You have not seen the last of me.
I know. Oh, that's clever because you were
Ah,
on the last of me episodes of our
last
show.
of us.
Love it,
Yeah,
love it, love it.
yeah,
Is this your first time doing a Marvel recap with us?
yeah. Which is like absolutely appalling.
Really?
Wait, was he
So
not
I'm
on?
glad to be in the saddle with
No, I
you
feel like
guys.
he didn't. You do She-Hulk with us?
Yeah, I feel like you did She-Hulk.
Oh, actually, yeah. Whoops.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody forgot about She-Hulk.
Oh, yes. Well, listen, we got a new person. We got a virgin to the Salaam Nerds family, and we're going to
Wow.
sacrifice him to the.
Eid Mubarak.
Oh, speaking of which, I know our episode is a day late. But that's because yesterday was Eid, and we decided to let everybody hang out with their family. So we did not do an episode last night. So we're doing it today. But we want to welcome our friend. We're gonna have. I know it's not Adam. It's
It's
Adom.
a dome.
A dome.
A dome. A dome. I know. I'm
Think like
dyslexic.
a dome. A
A
dome.
dome.
Yeah.
A dome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. What's going on, y'all? My name's Dome Cooper. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. Went to school in Michigan. Living here in Washington D.C. Working at State with Rozzy. We talk diplomacy and nerd stuff all the time. So that's how we got involved with this. I have to say, it's pretty dope to have all these comic book storylines. I used to read when I was a kid and beg my parents to take me to the comic book store. And now there's just all these shows popping out like babies, man. It's like the lube you were talking about just made these comic shows happen, man. It's wild. Wild.
Man, that is funny. So, by the way, guys, I still don't have my equipment because my flight lost my baggage. So my baggage is somewhere in Nashville with all my podcast equipment, all my chargers for my laptop. So I only have a little bit of like laptop battery life on my computers. So it's a little bit of a mess right now. So please bear with us. I know last Monday's episode of The Bachelor was not the best quality, but hopefully today's a little bit better.
Yeah, we're also not going to put ads in any of these
Yeah, we're
podcasts that are not of good quality. It's just
Yeah.
not fair to the listeners.
it's not fair to our listeners that they have to listen to. Actually, the ads are probably more clear than us. So
Yeah,
maybe we
right?
should.
They got some
Just
crazy
blame the
code,
scrolls.
man. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
know.
Skull's fault.
Yeah, yeah. It was
That's
a
true.
scroll episode. They were running the show.
Actually, you know what?
Over the needs.
Let me turn off the background music. Maybe that might help us. Background without background music, it does sound a little awkward, but it might help with the volume and stuff. You think?
Yeah, maybe. We'll
Let's
see.
try it. Let's try it. Because
I can always add the background music in later, so yeah, we can do that.
that's fine. It's fine. The background music is just when there's silence. It's like less awkward. That's the only. Other than that, there's no reason for it.
Don't worry, I'll fix that.
All right. Listen, we're gonna talk about Skrulls. We're gonna talk about Nick Fury. We're gonna talk about a lot of stuff, and hopefully, I can read my handwriting because I have no idea what the hell I wrote.
You're a doctor. You got it.
All right, let's get into it, man. Secret Invasion episode 2. General thoughts of this episode because I loved it. I don't know what the consensus is, but I was really, really excited. I think this is better than episode 1. My favorite scene is when Nick is opposite Rhodes and they're just talking at a table and I'm just like, yo, this is fire right here. Like just the back and forth. I just loved it. Adome, why don't you tell us what your overall thoughts of this episode were?
Sure. Thanks for letting the Slum Nerds Virgin go first. I appreciate
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So I agree with you. I love the episode. I thought it was a big step up from episode 1. I thought the setup, at the end of episode 1 where, Hill died, that was kind of a cliffhanger, even though I'm still in like this Game of Thrones mindset where if I don't see the body not moving anymore, I don't believe she's actually gone yet. So we did see a coffin, but I'm still not convinced. I don't know. Marvel does some weird stuff, but the scene you're talking about with Nick Fury as someone of African descent, I thought it was very powerful. The two guys going back and forth. But after that scene ended, I was like, is Rhodey a Skrull? I don't know if that's actually him.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Listen, I'm gonna take your advice because I feel like they were trying to size each other out and be like, because sometimes like I think almost every culture does this. Like when you're talking to somebody of your culture, even if they don't look like they're your culture. Like if they're white passing, you still have an idea of whether they're like part of your culture or not. And I kind of felt like maybe that's what Nick Fury was kind of doing. He's kind of sussing him out, and it was a very interesting conversation. So yeah, I'm very excited to hear your thoughts on that. So we'll get to that. That's going to be really exciting. Rusty, what about you?
I loved it. I thought it was a great episode. I think it really infused the paranoia into Secret Invasion, which is like I read the comics and I love the comics. And although this is not a direct take from it, I think it does the comic service in terms of you really don't know who to trust, right? And so I think that carried throughout. And I can't wait till we get into the Rhodes and Fury exchange because we all know who anyone who calls Fury Nick, they a scroll.
Ah, true, true.
All
Um,
facts.
I did like the fact that what was I gonna say? I just lost my train of thought. Oh man, something that you said that sprung. We'll get back to it. Jazz, what about you?
So this was a phenomenal episode. So many theories you can craft from whatever we just saw. Like, I'm just very hyped with it. I'm trying not to do spoilers right now, just because we haven't actually given spoiler warning. But yes, we will be spoiling a lot in this episode, and we may be spoiling some future things based on our theories. So let's get into it, man. I'm just hyped.
All right, let's get
Oh
into
yeah.
it. All right,
Let's
so
go.
this episode starts off with us getting introduced to Gavik, who we see as a young child, and there are a bunch of refugees that come here looking for a home, and basically Nick Fury comes up to them and he goes, "I give you my word, that I'm gonna help you find a home." But he was like, you put on these faces and you become these spies for me. If you do that, I will find you a home. And Nick Fury is like training these people, and we see that he doesn't really keep his promise. And 30 years, bro, 30 years. Like, I'm on the side of Gavik. Like, I'd be mad too, 30 years. And you know that these scrolls age differently than humans. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, for them, even though they're like child, they mature faster, I guess. So, and he lost his parents in like the Great War with the Kree. So it looks like there is some history between Nick Fury and Gavik, and we get to see a little bit of that background. Wanted to get your thoughts on that. Adom, what were your
Yeah.
thoughts about that backstory?
So I thought there was one actually thing missing from it that they haven't covered yet. I know it's like a limited series, but they haven't covered exactly how the scrolls managed like being in and out of the blip. I mean, Talos earlier, later in the episode talked about, when you were gone, nothing happened. But when I'm assuming that all the scrolls got snapped like everybody else, and when they came back, their lives must have been very different because they were obviously refugees. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought, the part about the scrolls being on Earth was really interesting because Fury has been away for a minute. Like if you remember in Spider-Man Far From Home, everyone thought of the whole movie that was Fury, but it was actually Talos impersonating Fury. So
Right.
it's interesting. Fury's kind of not really kept his promises with anybody. And then if you go back to at the end of Endgame, that's when Fury was snapped, he was calling Captain Marvel. There's a big gap of time between then and when the Skrulls were around in the 90s. So I'm hoping for some more flashbacks to see kind of what actually happened with that. And I have so many thoughts about Gravik and Fury's relationship, which I'll leave till the end.
You
Okay.
had my same theory.
So Razi, I just remembered what I thought about what I was going to say. You mentioned the comics, the Secret Invasion comics.
Yeah.
The director Ali Sethi, I think the showrunner, Ali Sethi. No, that's a singer.
That's not.
Ali Salim.
That's not.
Ali
I was like,
Salim.
no.
Ali Salim.
He said he actually didn't read the comics, so he
Because he was
did
told
not.
not to.
Yeah, he was told not
yeah.
to. Yeah, he was told not
Mhm.
to read the comics. So I'm very curious about like how different it's going to be from the comics. So what you've seen so far, how would you rate this against the comic? Like, where do you think it's going based on what the comics had?
They're so different. I mean, I don't even know how to like compare the two because they're just like two parallel, like perpendicular tracks in terms of like the direction that they're going. I think both of them have the same paranoia. Like you don't know who's a scroll, but what like fast forward to later in the episode where they don't want to weaponize the Avengers and that's why they're not in this. That's actually what happens in Secret Invasion. Like the Avengers, like some of them are scrolls, right? So I'm actually probably wearing a T-shirt where half of them are scrolls. So and I'm wearing the Avengers, right? The Avengers T-shirt. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
like half of these guys are scrolls. So I don't know. I mean, like I think the the comics was pretty solid, and I mean I loved it. So anyone who wants to dig into the source material, go at it. One other thing was they had talked about like essentially recruiting child soldiers. I was like,
Yeah.
damn.
It's a little on
And
the
there's
nose.
a thing called the Child Soldier Protection Act. So I don't. I guess they didn't really care about that. So, but when he said, "You keep your word and I'll keep mine," and the episode's called "The Promise," clearly a promise is broken here.
Yeah. Jazz, what are your thoughts on the broken promise?
I mean, I'm with the scrolls on this one. Like 30 years. I mean, I know maybe they may have looked at other planets and then it would be the same problem we have here. Like the dominant life form isn't a fan of outsiders. Like again, we can barely tolerate each other in this world. Like as Fury said, right? I think that problem may have also been happening on other planets, and that's why they haven't found a home for them yet. But still, 30 years is a very long time for the promise. As Adome mentioned earlier, I don't think they're giving us the full history behind Fury and Gravik. In fact, we'll get to the theory shortly because it opens up a whole new layer to this puzzle that we have in the show.
All right. Let's dive into that. I know you mentioned the stuff that Fury says on the train. That is another fantastic scene, and he dives into segregation and basically how he used to ride the train with his mom to Detroit, and whenever he used to tell, his mom wanted to find out what he's gonna say, she would ask him, and then based on how outrageous the lie was, she would know whether he was like lying or not. So they would play this game called like "Tell me something I don't know," and that's where we find out that whilst Fury was gone, Talos was like, "Yo, Scrolls, come through," and they did, and he didn't bother to tell anybody that like millions of Scrolls are now here not America,
In the
but
world,
on
yeah.
Earth. Yeah. Adome, what are your thoughts on the train ride conversation? I feel like that was really, really one of the better dialogues in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So when they were talking about going back to Rossi's point about how the director was told not to read Secret Invasion, they had also said that this series was born out of the relationship between Talos and Fury and the chemistry between Ben Mendelsohn and Samuel Jackson. I thought this scene fully, just put that on blast and made that very easy to consume. What I really liked about it was the fact that you have Fury, who clearly has lived through some shit. Excuse my language, but lived through some shit as a Black American,
Yeah.
explaining
It's
this
completely fine, man. This podcast explicit. You can
explaining
curse
this
like
to. We were talking about lube earlier. I don't know why. I apologize.
that.
But, a Black American explaining segregation and discrimination, all this stuff to a refugee, and he said something very poignant. He said, the host dictates the terms of the visitation, and I was like,
Yeah.
damn, Fury, like you were gone for a minute, like you can't just be talking like that to Talos. And then Talos comes back 2 seconds later, and he's like, yeah, there are a million of us here. And then he went into his, you lost your reptilian ass mind. Like, what are you like? And he came, and then he kicked him off the train. But one last thing I'll say is, like, if you remember the beginning of that scene when the cops are coming through to check the car looking for Fury, and Tails is impersonating I'm assuming she's Russian, this white woman, and she says to the cops, Black man on the train from Moscow to Warsaw, you're more likely to see an alien. Lo and behold, he's an alien talking to humans, hiding a Black guy in the back. I was like, this is so many layers. This is just
so
fantastic.
Good.
So what you're telling me is Talos' real power is white privilege.
Pretty much.
Yep.
I mean, going back to what you were saying before about the, when they talked in the 90s, when he said, all right, when Fury said, you're going to adopt a permanent face, Gravik chose a Black guy, Talos chose a white guy. Like,
ooh.
I mean, there's layers there.
Layers.
Ooh, you want to talk about the theory I have? Because you just mentioned for something very important.
Yeah, go for it, Jazz.
Yeah,
go for it.
I feel like we're thinking
why
the same thing.
did Gravik choose a Black guy? And here's my theory behind it. I think Nick Fury adopted him as a son.
With his wife that we see at the end. Yeah.
Wow.
Whoa.
Gravik
Good theory.
is his adopted son, and this is why this fight is so personal for him.
Damn. Yeah, I think you're right.
Nailed it.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's
and it ties everything together. Why he's the way he is. It parallels the relationship between Talos and Gaia. Like, this is also going to be a show where it's parents and their kids, how we always like conflict with each other. this is gonna be a generational way of figuring things out. It's gonna be a beautiful burn, and I can't wait for this.
And if I
But
can
yes,
add
that is
one
my
more thing to
theory.
that, yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right, and it's interesting because this show was billed as like they casted Amelia Clark as Talos's daughter, and they thought it was about their relationship. But I actually think you're right on the point. I think it's more about Gravik and Fury than Talos and Gaia.
Mhm.
Damn, that's really good. I want to go to the comments real quick. Ruby says Olivia Colman also pwned.
Oh, we're
which
gonna get
is-
into that.
We'll
Yes.
get into that. A million is not that much. I was surprised. There's like no room for that many. It's a whole ass planet. Yeah, I mean, okay, fair.
Just go to Greenland. Problem solved.
There's a lot of places where
New
they can
Asgard.
survive.
New Asgard.
So we talked about that in the last episode.
I
We
know
were
you
like
did.
that's
I know you
like
did,
super
yeah.
unfair. And Fury is giving unreliable narrator. Fury is the king of unreliable narrator. Like yeah, for sure, for sure. And then she says because Vara was there too with him to introduce him. Yes, Vara was there when whatchamacallit, they first introduced Garrick. So
Yeah.
yes, very
Vara is the scroll that we see at the end. That's Fury's wife.
true. Mm,
In fact, they adopted Gravik together.
damn.
That's all part of the theory. Calling it now.
I believe
mean,
it.
She wasn't. I don't think
that
she. Had,
I think his wife is actually abducted, and I think she's actually on Gravik's side. So I think it's what. Well, we can get into that later. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's your theory. Let's hear it, man. Let's go for it.
All right. Yeah. No, I think it's, so. When like the end scene, they show a scrawl, and then it turns into a black woman, which is his wife. And I mean, my theory is that they abducted his wife, and just to like get a pulse on Fury and where he is, what he's doing, what he's thinking. I mean, who better to know you than your spouse or your partner? And so I think, like, I really think that there's going to be that reveal later on. I mean, maybe it might be something of a choice with Vara, but we haven't heard from her or seen her, so I don't know. I mean, like, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors in this show. I mean, again, like the whole paranoia about the show. That's what I love about it so far.
So, how is somebody's significant other letting them be in space for 5 years? Like, is it like a Black Mirror thing where they're the droid of Samuel L. Jackson there? What an LMD?
What if she wasn't blipped? What if they swapped her during the blip?
Oh, they swapped.
And
her
they got
during
rid of
blip.
the
I'm sure they
real
swapped a
one
lot of
when she
people
came
during the
back.
blip.
yeah, I don't think that's Vara. Yeah, I don't actually think that's Vara because if you I watched it twice because I thought we were doing this yesterday, and at the beginning, Vara takes a permanent skin that's a white woman, and at the end, it's a black woman in the house. So I don't think that she would have switched.
All right. Let's just say it's unverified who she
Oh.
is at the
Whoa. Okay, sir. I see you.
Well,
How about
Yes.
you hold that one
Jokes.
in? My goodness.
All right. So basically, Nick Fury was like, "God damn, you brought so many people here. Like we can't live together. Even humans can't live together." And as a black man, it's like, yes, that has so many layers. Totally agree. But then we switch over and we see the funeral of Maria Hill, and I kind of want to believe that it's really her. She's dead because they seem to have put a lot of emphasis on it. They gave her a nice little ceremony, and then we see her mom, Elizabeth, who was like, "Make sure it's not worth not for nothing." And if she ends up not being dead, then it's like kind of is not for nothing. So it's kind of like maybe a meta way for the show to say, "Yeah, guys, she's dead." Which doesn't mean we won't see her again. They can be prequels, they can be flashbacks. We might still see her, but I think she is dead, in my opinion. But who knows? You never know.
I agree.
All right. How about the scene where Gavik goes in to the room of the council, and they all happen to be like prime ministers of countries and stuff? That was wild. Razi, what was your opinion on that?
Well, first of all, we got like the UK Prime Minister. We have the NATO Secretary General.
The
We
guy
have
from
Fox News. Shooter McGavin is in the room. Adobe and I were talking about that earlier.
That
We
was
got
so
Shooter McGavin in
funny.
the room. And then the other reps, I think, are Russia, India, China, maybe, or Japan. Like first they start out with like like your love for wine and human taste, and it's like, well, it's better than being a dog, right? And then he's actually, I prefer dogs. So like that dog analogy was like, damn, it just started going in that
He
direction.
gets
But
me.
yeah, right, yeah. But I think just like, you picture these things, and either one like out in the open, like the G7, or the the United Nations Security Council, but then like I'm sure there are always these behind the doors, closed, situations like this as well. So it was a lot. I was a little bit surprised to see something like this, but also like giddy with my whole like policy nerddom,
Yeah. So the power
and I'm
dynamics
sure Adam did too.
in that room, the power dynamics, did that make sense to y'all? Is it like, because like, wouldn't, there was only one person who took Gavin's side, and it seemed like they were the most powerful, and everyone kind of just got in line with them. Was that because of their place in the council, or was it in their place in like the UN and in the world where they really are?
I think it's more of the Skrull Council that they were establishing or had established. I think it's kind of the hierarchy that they have there. I don't think it's necessarily because you wouldn't actually have like, I mean, this seemed like an oddball mix of people.
Hmm.
I don't know who this, essentially the Fox News guy was. I mean, that was like the most random occurrence. Like it probably was like a senator or something, but like they didn't give any title. So it's just like an unnamed political like American, so, which is like that wouldn't be the case. So they're just like grabbing people. Um,
Yeah.
so
People are saying that the president of the United States might also be a scroll. That's another theory that people are
probably.
throwing out there. Yeah. But one of the scrolls decides not to join whatever they're doing in their plan, and they make Gavik the scroll general, and they're not on board. But he lets her leave, and then she goes and she calls somebody on the phone and kind of lets them know what's going on. What do you think is happening there? You think she is someone who is going to be a player later on?
Let's take a
Uh,
step back. So
sure.
they started. So her name was Shirley. I guess she was Indian or South Asian. I was like,
Right.
shout out to South Asian standing
Woo
up
woo.
Yeah,
to the
right. The
oppressors.
only ones with a
Uh,
spine.
exactly. So, um, she said, "I fear each of you have forgotten your history. And we didn't end up homeless refugees because we were unwilling to wage war. We ended up homeless refugees because we were too willing, right?" And so it's like kind of the, just running
Damn.
into battle, right? It definitely, that exchange was quite something, and like clearly, like he had control over the people in the future, and she was really concerned about that because she saw the lengths he was willing to go to basically take over the planet.
Very good. All right. So then what we see is we go back into, a conference, and we see our homie Rhodey there, and he is talking to the council. And something I noticed is that a few people in that council were wearing green. And you notice that some of the people that wore green might be Skrulls. You think that might be a little bit of a reference? Like throw a random green in here now and then to see who's gonna a scroll, little
He was
color
paying
coding.
attention.
Yeah, she was paying attention. I thought that was
Or
funny.
they're all Pakistani.
There was one Pakistani though.
Yeah,
I
there
There
did
was
was
a
see
one.
that.
There
Pakistani in that
was
room.
one.
Yeah, we
I
saw
love
that
Yeah,
it.
guy. I
yeah.
was like, all
That's
right,
that's
cool. We're
great. They
representing. I love it.
represent.
Are Pakistani scrolls because their flag is green? I don't know. The whole country is scrolls. That's where the 2 million went.
Yo, it wouldn't even be that hard to do that in Karachi or
Not a
like
bad place to
any
hide,
city.
right? I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah, Imran Khan is a scroll. I wouldn't be
I believe
surprised.
it.
Oh man, that's funny. But what did you guys think about the way Rhodey was acting? Like he was saying things about like carpet bombing, and I've never heard him speak that way before. And I was like, is this really the Rhodes we know? What's going on with him?
Okay, so yes, the obvious theory is that he's a scroll, right?
Right.
But let me remind you that when we were talking about his suit back in what was it, Iron Man 3,
Yeah.
he was like, "Yeah, we're not going to call it the defense blah 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 whatever it was. We're calling it the
Iron Patriot.
Iron Patriot or like war or something." And I was like, "Yeah, okay. I mean, I get it." So I mean,
Yeah.
the carpet bombing thing, I'm just like I can kind of see that being part of his personality to begin with.
Mm.
but there were other instances of his personality that really threw me off.
Yeah. The thing is, like, Rhodey has always been a toe the line, kind of like by the books, follow the government kind of person. But he's also someone who believes that, like, let's change the government from the inside. So, like, you still see that bit of him. Adom, what are your thoughts about Rhodey? Like, where do you think he's at?
So whenever we see, like, I wouldn't consider Rhodey a side character, but we haven't really seen him. I don't think he's been in anything since Falcon and Winter Soldier, like the first episode when he was with
Right.
Sam. They were giving back the shield. We haven't seen him since. So Armor Wars got turned from I think from a TV show into a movie or vice versa. I don't remember how they switched it, but it's been a minute since we've seen Rhodey. And you're right, Jazz. It's a little bit different seeing him in this element. And I was thinking to myself, okay, he's talking about carpet bombing Slovakia, and then he's very aggressive with Fury, calling him Nick. There's definitely something off with him. I'm not totally convinced he's a Skrull, but this is not the same Rhodey that we saw back like at the end of Endgame when they buried Tony. He's very different.
Yeah. The other thing is, if he's a Skrull and they say that he's been a Skrull for a long time, it would completely ruin Endgame because you see him be so emotional with Tony dying. Like, that would be a slap in the face to that scene, really. So I would hate for that to happen. But also,
He
I
could
feel
have
like
been
it's
replaced.
yeah, he could have been
Yeah,
replaced
he could have been
after.
replaced after that.
Yeah. So
Being
it's
held
like,
hostage somewhere. Yeah, I think that's more believable.
I
yeah.
think so too.
Ruby said it did sound a bit harsh, but I was debating whether he's been politicized. You lie down with dogs, you rise with fleas. I was like, all right, that makes sense. That makes sense. So we'll.
Yeah. Well, I think really the scenes that came after in the bar,
Yeah.
that's where you truly got a feel for, who he is. And, going back to what you were saying earlier in the podcast where like, you see two people of the same culture talking like that to size each other up.
Yeah.
This was 100% Fury trying to figure out if he's a Skrull or not. And I think Fury got his answer.
Yeah, I'd really like to hear your thoughts on this because I've never heard Rhodey say brother or stuff like that in a conversation with anyone else in the whole series, and this was a very much like like race is not something that's like was ignored in this entire episode. It's a part of this show, and like they're using it as an vehicle to tell the larger story, and I think that's really fascinating. But I really want to get your thoughts.
Yeah, so one big thing here is that if you remember what Rhodey says, he says, I volunteered to come fire you.
Yeah.
That really stuck out to me because, as we know, in corporate America and working spaces, they're traditionally, controlled by white supremacy. Whenever something's bad is going to happen to a person of color, what's the playbook? You send another person of color to go do it, right?
Yep.
So the fact that Rhodey volunteered, I was like, I'm not sure if Rhodey would actually volunteer to do this. I mean, you got to remember, Captain America is black now because Sam Wilson's taking up the mantle. So would you volunteer to go fire Sam? I mean, I don't know about that, but there was another thing that struck me in the conversation earlier when Fury was talking. He said to Rhodey, you trust your security detail? He was like, what if I told you they were all spies? Rhodey really didn't react in a way that I thought he would. He was just kind of like, yeah, I mean, if you say so, I'm not really a proven threat. I'm aware of the Skrull. It's not that big of a deal. I kind of expected him to be like a little more on edge and also be looking for like his exit, because after that, he just like called the guy in and was like, the car is ready. And I was like, something's really off here.
Wait, how did Rhodey know about all the Skrulls 15
He said
years ago?
Yeah, right. He mentioned
So-
he got a
exactly.
briefing.
So
like,
He got a
15 years
briefing.
ago would be Iron Man 2. And
Yeah.
I don't know, it just sounds a little funny to me.
he wasn't even an
Yeah.
Avenger at that point. Like,
Yeah, he was.
Right. We don't even know the timing of like when the Skrulls were first revealed to anybody. Like, I feel like, Nick Fury knew about him, obviously, for obvious reasons. But then, like, how did all these other people come to know about it in the government 15 years ago when right now we see them infiltrating the government and no one has any idea?
Well, the government was mostly Hydra back then, too.
that's
Keep
true.
Yeah.
I
In
mean, sure,
2010
but did Hydra know? Like,
I don't know.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, it puts it at 2010, which would be like 2 years before the invasion of New York, right? So you have this like period.
yeah.
Yeah. So
and
I
that's
don't
the
know.
thing. Tony didn't know about alien threats until it
that's
happened
right.
in
Yes.
the first
That's
Avengers
right.
movie.
You're right. Yeah.
How
you're
did
right,
they
Jazz.
know?
Yeah.
Right. Lots of questions, right?
Oh man,
Mhm.
yeah. They also talked about how, hey, why don't you just send the Avengers? And Nick is like, no, that's the last thing we want, for them to come there and take over and become the Avengers. And that's is a storyline from the comics, is it
Comic
not?
book. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the Secret Invasion storyline.
It's kind of
It's
convenient how
crazy.
Rhodey does wants the Avengers to come and fall for that trap. I don't know. It's kind of sketch.
And
I
Fury
know.
literally goes through
Yo.
the scenario. He says, like, why? So you can come down and duplicate everybody and you all become terrorists. That's also part of the
Yep.
storyline, too. So, yeah, no, it's interesting.
Yo,
Yeah.
that's interesting because then I remember at some point in the episode, like in the council meeting, when they asked, "Hey, aren't you worried about the Avengers?" And then Graphic was like, "You think I haven't thought about that already?"
Yeah.
Rhodey's the spy in the Avengers.
That's crazy.
I have so many
Yeah.
theories about his plan, too. We can talk about that later. But, yeah, that's
Yeah.
Also, like, couldn't Rhodey also call the Avengers? Because in the beginning of Endgame, Rhodey was part of that council with Scarlet,
Yeah.
not Scarlet, but Scarlett Johansson and Captain Marvel and Rocket, where they were all like they were part of the group that was taking care of
They
everything.
were in the
So
blip.
yeah, so I don't know. It's 'cause the other thing is, and I want to go back to what we were talking about earlier, just sizing up. They were talking about how mediocre white men have
The
these
Alexander
powers.
Pierces.
Oh, so
Yeah,
good.
and
That
like
was such a good Iron Man 3 callback.
great name
yes,
drop. Oh, man. Yeah.
that was so good. And they talk about like we didn't get here because of our daddies. Another little like race drop and stuff like that.
No,
And
that's him calling out Stark.
Yeah,
yeah.
every
Oh yeah, that's true. Also, yeah,
yeah.
I didn't even catch that. But like I don't know. I feel like Rhodey, though he did agree with that, he didn't seem to have the empathy behind it when he replied back. Um, like I don't know. It was a very strange conversation. It didn't. I don't know. I don't. You tell me. Did it seem like two black guys having a conversation, or did it seem like one is impersonating a black guy and the other one's trying to figure him out?
That's a fair point. If you remember back, in Spider-Man: Far From Home, Talos was impersonating Fury, so he had to act in a certain way, and you kind of see this here again. But for me, I think of it's layered, right? Because you have two people of African descent that work for the United States, military complex or empire, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
and
Empire's accurate.
they're in Europe, right? So there's also that layers of it, so they can't blend in anywhere. And then Rhodey has his entourage, and Fury is essentially a fugitive. So this conversation between the two of them, Fury clearly wanted to talk, and I don't know if the Jazz or Deezer mentioned earlier how he was trying to size him up. I think Fury called this conversation to see where Rhodey was in the situation, if he was a Skrull or not. And I think you're right. He did get his answer. I think Rhodey is a Skrull.
Yeah, because right after Fury left that scene, you see him like wincing, like he's tired or like he's exhausted.
Yeah.
I don't think he's like physically exhausted. I think he's just like, God damn, even Rhodey's a Skrull.
Yeah.
Shit,
I think
Talos
you're right.
is telling the truth about everything. Like
Yeah.
I think that's
you're
when
right.
it occurred to him, like
Jazz.
just how bad it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I rewatched that scene and I was wondering what was going on. Jazz, you're on point here.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I know Ruby mentioned this earlier, but Olivia Coleman, she comes into this refrigerator
Mm.
and just like
Mm-mm.
cut this dude's finger off, and like, yep,
I love
he's
it.
a Skrull. I was like, what if he wasn't? Like, this is not-
Hey, that's was her name
Whoops.
Sonia Fallsworth? Like
Yeah,
that's who
Sonya
she is.
Fallsworth. Yo,
Yeah.
it's so bad. And she was like, "Where's the escape hatch?" And she was like, "Yep." She knew everything that was happening. She knew who was coming to get him. She knew how much time she had. She knew she was giving him that serum. Was that serum the same thing in Captain America and the Winter Soldier? Because didn't they have a truth serum at the end of that?
No, this is Extremis from Iron Man 3.
Extremis from Iron Man 3. Yeah.
Oh,
Or
that's
burns
what they
your-
gave him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Maybe.
that's what's causing him to boil up on the inside. Like how in Iron Man 3 they were like able to shoot like fire or whatever.
Yeah.
This is that same serum, but his body isn't exactly ready for it because you do have to prep for it to like truly get the Extremis power. That's what that was. So this is a really cool callback all the way to Iron Man 3 because quite frankly, I didn't like Iron Man 3 that much, but after this episode, I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Iron Man 3 was so important in this whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this wasn't the only reference to that, but I don't want to get to it yet.
Yeah, we'll get to that shortly. Yeah.
So they basically rescue this guy, and he's the guy that was going, I'm American," while they're like arresting him. So he gives up the information because they put all this like whatever in him. She interrogates him, and then she makes a run for it, right? Uh, and then they try to figure out like what did he tell her, and then as they're driving, they realize that the one of their safe houses is being like broken into. They realize he gave away information, and they go out and kill him. And I was like, yo, it's hard out here for these spies, man. It's hard to find who's the good person, who's the bad person, because it kind of feels like everyone's a bad person. Ruzzy, what are your thoughts?
Yo, so I think the interrogation and computer scene need to be like seen side by side. I'm glad they did that because it combined, it helps you to understand the plot direction. You have, this guy give up the fact that like they're building a machine to make us stronger, switch over to the computer. You see Groot, you see Cull Obsidian's hand, you
Yep.
see Extremis.
And we see
and then the
see
Frost
the
Beast.
Frost Beast.
Well,
Yes.
I don't know I don't know where that came from.
There are four
But
for a reason. I'll talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so the
so-
Frost Beast is from
That's
It's
was
from
it
Thor
Thor.
Thor the
one.
Dark
Thor.
World?
Yeah, it's from
Yeah.
Thor's
Yeah.
world. But
Thor
like,
one.
how did they find it in?
Oh, so
on
in Thor
Earth?
the Dark World, there was like an invasion slightly. Like there was something opened up.
You mean
and
the
then
elves,
it was,
dark elves?
No.
Yeah, and so
Yeah,
is that when
clearly I
Thor-
forgot.
Go ahead, yeah.
yeah, no, that was definitely Thor the Dark World. The elves
clearly
did open
forgot.
up something, and then it was Jane Foster and Thor who shut it down in London.
They shut it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like all
That's
these
where
portals
they-
were opening.
There
I
were
remember-
four
Oh,
of
this
them.
portal. That's right.
Yeah, there were
right.
4 beasts that
So-
came through, and this is one of them.
Yeah.
All right, let's
Yeah.
let's talk about the
So-
elephant in the room. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Super Skrull.
Super Skrull.
That's
Super
what's going.
Skrulls.
Yes.
buddy.
Indeed.
Yeah, buddy.
Indeed.
So it makes it like the Super Skrull, I believe in the comics, I could be wrong, where basically they would get the powers of the Fantastic Four. And I feel like in this, it's very similar because Obsidian was this person who was like, big and like tough, like the Thing. And then Groot can stretch, which is like Mr. Fantastic.
Yep.
The extremists, they burn. And I guess the Frost Giant can turn to ice, which maybe is similar
Yeah.
to
Invisibility?
Invisible Woman.
You nailed
I
it.
don't know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel like that's where they're going with this. So I think we're gonna get a Super Skrull, and I think Gavik is gonna turn into the Super
Oh,
Skrull.
Gravik. I mean, there are
Oh, Gravik
like,
for sure is, yeah.
Yeah.
pictures
They gave-
online of him doing the Groot thing with his hand. Like,
Yeah, they gave that away in
Oh,
one of
I
the
didn't see
trailers.
that.
They did
Yeah.
give it
Oh.
away, yeah.
Oh, why did
Yeah.
they do that? That's so annoying.
I know,
It
bro.
is,
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, like before, I was like, "Oh, it's a Super Scroll," but now, like connecting it with Groot, I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's just Groot's hand." So, yeah. But like the Super Scroll, like each of their appendages is
Yeah.
like a power, right? And so, like, I can't wait to see like all 4 powers kind of fused into one. So this would be crazy.
That's crazy. I don't know. I'm excited. I want to see where this goes. But when I saw the Super Skrull thing, I got really excited. I love the Super Skrull
Dome,
storyline.
what were you gonna say with that?
Yeah, so this is another Easter egg with Fantastic Four. They keep giving us these, like with Kang and other things.
Mhm.
So with this, Razi nailed it. They had the 4 powers. So the original, I'm really into like the comic book on Skrulls. So
Great.
the original Super Skrull, his name was Klurt, and he actually had all 4 powers of the Fantastic Four, and he was able to beat them. And then he was able to take those powers and like make them into other ones to give all these other Super Skrulls their power. So he has the original 4. So that's why we saw the stretching, the fire, the invisibility stuff on the computer when I think Guy was looking at it to kind of
Yeah.
Easter egg, like, hey, we're not going to exactly steal the Fantastic Four's powers. We're going to take ones that are eerily similar.
Yeah.
And Gravik is going to either have just the one that we saw in the trailer, or I actually think he's going to have all 4.
I think he's gonna have all
Yeah.
He's
4.
going to have
I
this
think he'll have
version.
all
He'll be the
4.
version of Klurt, yeah, because he's the one in charge.
Yeah. What about
Agreed.
Gaia though? Well, what's her deal? What are your thoughts about her? You think she is a double triple agent? You think she's just trying to play both sides, or she's having a change of heart? Like, where do you think she's going? Ruzzy, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I think she's like when she's at the steering wheel. I mean, clearly she has a reaction when that other Skrull is taken out and killed. So I think she's starting to crack. I think she saw a hero or savior, and clearly, like, she sees him who he truly is, which is just a murderer. So yeah. Don't work for your
disagree
heroes.
with that.
What was that? Oh, what are you gonna say, Jess?
I think she knows exactly what she's doing, and I don't think she's cracking. I think she's just gonna be a bad person.
Ooh, I don't know. I can't see her as a
Mhm.
bad person.
Interesting.
Only because she has this like moment with what's her name? Monica Rambeau, when she was a child. Like they're both connected. They were both like sweet children. Um,
I
and I
forgot
feel
about
like
that. You're right.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
and I
forgot about that too.
and I feel like they were people who like I just give like a moment like where like they're both good people. I don't know to me, and like I also noticed how like Olivia, not Olivia, what's her name, the
Sonia.
girl, no, who plays Gaia,
Amelia Clark.
Emilia
Amelia
Clark,
Amelia
Clark.
Clark,
Yeah.
yeah.
Emilia Clark, yeah. So like those not she wears contact. Those are not her real eye colors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the end of Miss Marvel, not Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, she tells her, "Don't change your eyes. Your eyes are beautiful." And I feel like that's like a. I feel like they might reference that somehow. I don't know. There was a
You
really
think the
good moment between
contacts
them.
represent like if she's on the bad side, and then when she takes them off, she's a good person or
I
something?
think so. I feel like part of it is like that. She's a good person. I don't know, but we'll see. But I don't know with Gaia. Adom, what were you gonna say?
No, I think she's definitely having like a crisis of character, given the fact that when I think we met her, she found out her mom had died, and then she kind of talked to her dad. And if you remember in the end of the first episode, she kind of tried to warn her dad about the attack, even though she fully didn't like stop it from happening. I don't know if she
Yeah,
didn't know what Gravik was going to do, but I think she's just kind of in the middle now, where it's kind of like I've gone too far, but I can't really turn
Yeah.
back now because if I do, I might actually end up getting myself killed. But when she was snooping on the computer, that was clearly like, I don't know what's going on here, and I need to find out why. Because I remember back in that scene where they were showing like the machine of how the Super Scrolls get, or we're assuming that's how they get created. She
Mhm.
was literally like in the background, like, let me like snoop and see what's back here, even though I shouldn't be back here.
yeah,
So maybe she's getting
Yeah.
that information to pass off to her dad again. I don't know.
yeah.
I mean,
Eh,
she could
we'll
have already
see.
passed it
We'll
off
see.
because they did show her making a call, uh,
Mm.
like right after that when they rescued the other scroll. She did make a call because she was telling the other guy, "Oh, I'm gonna go back out back," and you
Oh,
know,
you're right. You're right.
Oh
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. That's
But again,
true.
I
that's
don't remember
exactly
that.
why I don't believe she's a good person.
Maybe there's like a third player or a third team that she's a part of.
Yeah, like it's
Mr.
not a third team.
Fantastic
I
Four.
think, I think she's definitely trying to play both sides, but I think she knows where her allegiance is. And if she was trying to play both sides, right, she could have made a lot more of an effort to stop what happened there. She didn't.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
she knows where she's at. She's gathering enough info to protect herself in case something goes off
Yeah.
as like a bargaining chip, but that's it.
Yeah. Ruby saying the same thing in the comments. She was like, I was wondering if we were going to get any answers, whether she played them on purpose about the backpacks. To this point, think it's a little ambiguous right now whether she played them on purpose or not. Um, I don't know. I kind of felt like at the end of the last episode that she played them, but now I kind of feel like no, maybe she didn't play them. So it's a little bit up in the air. She is a wild card at the moment, I would
She
say.
is, yeah.
Totally. I'm loving this show
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
of that.
So
Do you
good.
do you think her mom is really dead?
Yes.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think so.
They've
That's too
mentioned
important
it
for the
like
plot
5 times.
I know
Yeah.
they mention
Yeah.
it a lot, so I don't know, but that would be a surprise to me
And
too.
that's clearly driving Talos's mission so far, the fact that she's dead. I don't think if she
Yeah,
had died, he'd be acting like he's been acting.
Yeah, I think this
yeah.
is both the, parent story like, hey, we're going to bring our kids back to the good side because they both went off on the deep end.
Ooh, this is very like Kylo Ren.
Mhm.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
But
And you remember
man.
what happened
this would be so
in
much
that
better
series?
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I know what I must do, but I don't know if I have the strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. And then at the end of the episode, we see Nick Fury go back to this house, and turns out homie is married. And they play the Otis song, which I know from the Kanye remix, but like the original is just as good. But
Yeah.
I was feeling that, and I was
Otis
like,
Redding is so good. I love his music. Yeah.
oh my god. And then yeah, it turns out homie's got a wife. He puts the ring back on, and the episode ends. What are your thoughts with Samuel L. Jackson being married?
So I think it's really funny because I think it's Winter Soldier when he gets attacked by Hydra in the street and he goes to Captain America's apartment. he's like, oh, my
He's
wife
like, oh, I
left me.
spat with my wife.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we're all like, oh, that must be a joke, but like, what if the shit was real? Like, he actually, I was like, I know, fight with his wife, like, at the worst possible time. So, I think it's really interesting that we've never seen him talk about his family other than that when he was talking to Cap before he had been killed in the Winter Soldier. So, I don't know. I think it's crazy to think that he would have had a partner this whole time, just sitting there waiting for him. So, I think his partner, like Raji was saying earlier, his partner probably got abducted because there was no reason for a Skrull to adopt a permanently, full melanin skin to be with him for no reason. That doesn't make any sense to me, other than to raise Gravik in a environment. Because I thought about this: why else would Gravik choose a permanent skin that looks like mine? Because he was around people like that for his whole life.
Mhm.
Very true, very true. I also don't think that she is a scroll. Um, just because I feel like
Didn't they show that at the end?
what?
That she
That-
is a scroll?
Yeah, she is a scroll.
Yeah,
Oh, she is a scroll. Oh,
She's
okay.
100% a scroll. We just
he's
don't know
meaning
which scroll.
that permanent scroll. You meant like from the beginning, right?
Oh,
The-
no, what I meant to say is like the part that confused me about her being a scroll is like I feel like Samuel L. Jackson should have fought a little harder for their people if he's married to a scroll.
Yeah, I
Fair
agree.
point.
Right?
Yeah,
I don't know. I
I
don't
agree.
know.
Yeah,
Kinda
I
weird.
think she's taken in the blip.
I wouldn't be surprised. She was taken it from the blip. Yeah.
Nah, I'm convinced he's always been married to her. They raised Gravik. The reason he can't find them a home is because he wants to keep her here.
Oh, that'd be shady.
Oh,
That's shady.
That's jacked
damn,
up.
that's
Man.
Yeah, it
messed
is.
up.
And that's why it's going to hurt so much knowing that Samuel L. Jackson caused Nick Fury caused all this to happen because he was being selfish to begin with.
It's such a Nick Fury move, though.
Yeah, it is a Nick Fury move. That's what I'm saying. This whole thing
Yeah.
happened because he was selfish. And the
Yeah.
reason all these people are dying was because he wasn't being honest about everything.
Oh, he better apologize to her. I'm
His
sorry, Miss
secrets have
Jackson.
secrets.
Oh, okay. Well, we got a lot of theories on this episode, so we'll see which ones come out to be true and which ones come out to be false. We'll see. I think that's the fun part of this show. It keeps you guessing, and you don't know what's going on. And I think there's going to be a lot of surprises. We haven't even seen all the surprises yet, and there's rumors of people that are part of other shows that might show up.
Yeah.
Very curious about that. I don't want to give spoilers away,
Nice.
even though it's in some of the trailers, but we'll see. All right. Overall, we talked about his thoughts. Anything we didn't go over? Anything else we want to capture before we wrap up?
I love when he said,
Oh,
"I'm Nick Fury. Even when I'm out, I'm in."
Oh
that
my
was
god!
cringe. I
What?
hated that line.
I loved it. That
You
was
hate
so
it? I loved
good.
it. I
No,
saw
you
it.
know what's
No.
missing though? You know what's missing? He should leaned over and said, "Motherfucker."
Yes.
Yeah, that
That's
was
what's
funny.
missing. That's what he should have said.
I don't
that's
think
it.
I don't think Nick Samuel L. Jackson can say any line and make it cringe. Like everything he says just works.
Oh,
I
it's
didn't
just so
like
good.
that. I wish
I
he was
like it.
walking out instead of like leaning in. I wish he just walked out and said, "I'm always in." Like that would have been amazing to me. But like when he said, "Even when I'm out, I'm in," that just was like, "Oh goddamn it."
That just sounds gangster to me, man. Like even when I'm
Yeah.
out, I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the only thing we didn't touch upon was the fact that, like, in the tussle between Rhodey and Fury, was that like he alone could fix it. How many times have we heard that, right? Like,
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
I mean, we have heard that so many times, right? Like, it's the enemy is a million times more dangerous than Hydra, but they can be vanquished by you alone. So, I mean, it's just like, yeah.
Hubris.
And I think it goes to the Jazz's point that it's a son or adopted son, because that's the
Yeah.
only reason why he would make it his own personal problem.
Yeah, he
It's
could have been back
personal.
up in space chilling. Why did he do all this?
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
It's personal for him.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. This was a great episode. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll definitely have you get back. Adome, where can people find you? People might want to find you. I don't know if you want them to find you, but let people know.
If this show has taught me anything, no.
Yeah, so my Twitter handle is in the bio. It's also my Instagram, so you can find me there.
House
I don't
Coop?
know. Yep, I could be a squirrel, I could not be, so you'll have to find out.
Well, we're always down to hang with Mr. Cooper here.
I've never heard that before. Never heard that before. Oh my God.
Listen, man, that was one of my favorite shows. I had to do it. I had to.
So can I tell you a funny story about that? So
Sure.
when I was growing up, I mean, I grew up in a very homogenous white suburb of Cleveland, Ohio, and I can't remember what birthday party it was, but I told all of my white friends that that was my dad, and they
Nice.
believed me. And then I had a birthday party, and they were like, "That's not Mr. Cooper. Where is he?" I was like, well,
I love
That's
it.
so
I
funny.
love
They
it.
didn't know that the actor's name was not Cooper, it was Mark Curry.
no.
Oh man, I love that show. That show was so good. Who was the woman in there? Because she was so fine. I forgot who. Somebody famous. Holly Robinson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember now. Oh man, good throwback. All right, man. And Ruzzy, thank you always for coming out. You're always find good friends for us, man. You guys are awesome.
It's what I'm here for. Salaam nerds for life.
Ruzzy is
And
our
haram
scout.
nerds for life.
Yo,
Yeah,
Haram Nerd is starting up, man. Like,
Haram nerds is starting at midnight.
yeah. Yo, but like, usually those conversations are usually reserved for like our bachelor and reality show content because those get spicy. They get spicy.
Yeah.
Adom, if you don't know, not only do we cover superhero stuff, but we also cover reality TV. So,
Oh no, I'm actually a big fan of Love Is Blind. I listened to a couple of your guys' episodes.
oh, did you?
Oh,
Oh my
cool.
god, yeah.
That's
Oh,
even
no.
better. I love when we bring fans on the show.
Yeah.
I love it. Yo, Love Is Blind is one of our.
My wife and I binge that shit like in like 2 days every time it comes out. Like
It's so good.
Oh.
It's so good.
so bad
Right-
that it's good. Yeah.
Right now,
bad
we
it's good.
we covered this show about these Afghani women, and it's going crazy on the social medias right now. I think that's one of our highest rated
Oh, I can
episodes.
only imagine.
Damn.
Wow.
Oof, man, but it's
I think I
wild.
need to watch it.
It's something.
It's something.
It's only
something.
funny if it's not happening to you. That's how I look at it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll definitely have you guys back. We're going to put you on the list of people we always want back. And that's all we got for today's episode. And until next time, guys, Salaam nerds.
Peace.
All right. Thanks, guys. Peace. Have a